Moving forward, don't have a ton of time on this one, but I want to give it its due because I think it is legitimately one of the best documentaries of the year, and it's a good one. It's a fun one. It's Class Action Park, now streaming on HBO Max. God, you just with the backgrounds today, man. The slightly related but unrelated backgrounds, Dominic Guanzon. Class Action Park kind of recounts the salad days of the world's most dangerous amusement park, known as Action Park. Joe remembers it fondly because the park kind of received renewed mainstream attention back in 2018 when Johnny Knoxville and company made Action Point, the comedy based on the park, and also the movie that I have 4 shirts of in my closet because I knew people who knew people at the movie theater. I have like 4 Action Point shirts I routinely wear. I have worn a few on this show. But this documentary, though, again, streaming on HBO Max, recounts sort of the oral history of the park as well as its contemptible, to say the least, founder, Gene Mulvihill, who is, and Dominic loves getting into politics, he's your typical Reagan-era Wall Streeter whose motto might as well be deregulate and let God sort it out.
Honestly, Reagan doesn't even line up that well because Reagan was very Christian conservative. I would say he's like full-on Ron Paul libertarian, no rules, just do what you want. Every man do his own thing, and just you'll be all right. If you get hurt, that's your problem. That's your problem.
I say it though because it was the Reagan era. Actually,
that is true. That is true. I understand
when
why
he came up. Yeah, no, I get what you're saying about Ron Paul. Like I swear to God, if you gave Mulvihill a compelling PowerPoint presentation, he'd be like, yeah, we should go back to the gold standard of currency. But at any rate, I had a ton of fun with this movie. But like real life, it's all fun and games until someone gets hurt.
Yep.
And that's really how this documentary plays. Joe, you want to talk more about that?
Yeah, the documentary does a great job at showing why. Because you look at this today, it's so funny. While I was watching this documentary, I mean, we saw some of these amusement park rides in the Johnny Knoxville video, Steve. And actually, like, because I was so interested in the theme park itself, if you go on YouTube, Defunct Land, which talks about a bunch of theme parks that have closed down and everything,
I love them.
they did an Action Park one as well ever since Action Point came out. And I remember watching that. And it's still amazing to me that even after seeing the Johnny Knoxville thing, even after seeing the Defunct Land YouTube channel documentary, I see this one, and I look at those rides, I'm just like, how could you think, like, to go on them? And it's just, like, it really does show that, like, Class Action Park was, like, its own world, man. It was this own thing for kids. Kids loved it. It was an escape because they got to do whatever they want. And it's amazing that this documentary still manages to capture that feeling, even though I've seen 2 other things really showing that. I think it did a great job interviewing all these people who went to the park. Some famous, some like just like relatively like unknown people. I love that they have like these animated segments in between, like showing how like the rides operate. It's very much like very much a fun documentary until you get to about, I think, the 1 hour mark. Where it does talk about the dangerous side of this park and the amount of people that died, specifically focusing on one family member. It's almost like as much as I was seeing like people talk about it and be like, "You're stupid for going here. How could you go here?" By like the 1 hour mark, I was like, "Okay, I understand why you can go there." Like, it does look like a lot of fun. And I go, "Oh my God!" It's just like you finally see someone like break their leg and get hurt.
Yeah, I would say the best voice in the documentary is probably Chris Gethard.
Yeah,
the gentleman with glasses. He is the documentary's wittiest voice. I love his delivery. I love his cadence. I would have taken a 90-minute documentary just him narrating the whole thing. Yeah. I think he's a special talent. I got to look more into Chris Gethard because he definitely was really like the guy I grew the most attached with over this thing. Alison Becker's really good too. She's a fun presence. But like Joe said, this is a very visual documentary. There's a lot of animated interludes because obviously this park is old enough that where video cameras still weren't super common. Yeah. So the footage that we do get of the park is really well preserved. Dominic, your thoughts kind of on Class Action Park overall?
I'm gonna open up by saying that I've only seen an hour into it before I got busy and did something else, and then by the time Wednesday came around, it's like, oh shit, I haven't finished this movie.
Hack.
However, I know I'm a hack. I'm a total hack. So I can't comment on the plot lines of the movie, but in term or plot line of the documentary. But just I will bring up just the pure aesthetic. Like that aesthetic is a, as the kids would say, it's a whole goddamn mood, and the music is perfect. The music is perfect because it's like a Saturday morning cartoon, but it's got like just a tinge of sin. If you really like pay attention to it, it's got the sinister side to it that is undercutting just how dangerous this whole thing is, and that combined with the with the Joe, I'm so glad you brought up those drawings because those drawings perfectly encapsulate just
It's
how
almost like this park was a
freewheeling.
cartoon.
Yeah, no,
It does.
they accentuated this multiple times, but it is as if literal kids were running this park
Yeah.
because it basically was, and it is just astounding. But I was watching this with Chelsea and her dad, and we were all sitting there just floored, like, oh my god, how just that story of the loop-de-loop slide where they would send in a kid first, and then they would get their mouth smashed in, bleeding. They would come out bleeding from the
Lose
mouth.
teeth.
Yeah, and then when the second and third dude when they went in, they came out with lacerations because the teeth were stuck to the slide and cutting them up. And I'm like, dude, that is literally straight out of Jackass. That is
Yeah.
insane. And you hear these stories. That first hour, because that's all I can comment on. But that first hour is just back to back to back crazy ass shit, and it is so entertaining.
Jaw on the floor. Yeah.
And the way it's paired with the shitty, intentionally shitty kind of VCR type of visual aesthetic with that slightly sinister music, but still very glossy, very very fun. Kind of, I guess, synthwave might be that may be misuse of that term, but
Like
kind of that,
lo-fi.
yeah,
Might be thinking
lo-fi,
like
low fidelity
lo-fi.
kind of thing going, and then all that coming together into the genuinely crazy story. It is a legend, from what I've read. It is a legend in the New York
Yeah,
area.
it is.
And it apparently it also defined, again, probably retroactive discussion, but still it defined Gen X in that specific part of the country, because it was like, dude, this is how the world is. You go in, no holds bar. He'll spit you out. You'll be coming out cut up. You get someone pregnant, probably come out with some sort of disease or whatever, drunk off your ass. You'll find yourself at the front of the park and, in the pool of your own vomit. That's how life is, baby. That's how it's gonna be.
I like how Gethard I think it was him at one point. He goes, "We'd come back to school in like September, and like you'd see a kid with a cast on his arm, and he'd be like, Alpine slide,' and he'd be like, yeah."
To that
Yeah,
Alpine slide.
Here's the one question I want to bring up too. The one other thing, I couldn't get over the alcohol iodine mix in the spray bottle at the infirmary that made the bodybuilder cry. Like, holy crap, when it was sprayed on like a burn or something. It's like, why don't you just pour salt in the scab? Why don't you?
Just make a new scab at that point.
They're almost too good to be true.
Here's my question. Gun to your head. You have to go on one ride at Action Park. What would it have been?
Oh,
like
God.
like one ride, or can we say
one attraction
You know-
at the park? You have to do something.
I was gonna-
one of the what?
I was gonna say the mountain thing where you can control your speed, but then I remember people purposely drop the things on you to be like absolute dickheads.
And that's how the kid died. That's
Yeah.
how the kid died, was that thing, because the brakes were faulty and he bashed his head on a rock.
You know what? Okay,
Like,
I guess I'll
I
go with
know mine.
I'll go with the tennis tank thing, but hopefully that dude who put like the gasoline for the tennis
fire
balls
on
doesn't
it.
show up.
You know what I would do, honestly? Because I love rides like this at like water parks. I would do the Colorado River ride. I would do
Oh,
that
you would.
Colorado River ride.
that would be fun
I
with
would.
a group.
That
That would be
yeah.
that would
fun
be
with a group. Like, it's scary as hell. I might wear padding on my elbows and be a total Sally, but like
Hey,
that
you
would be
wanna
my
build-
ride.
That actually, you bring that up. I just remembered. Whenever I go to a theme park, Six Flags, Disney, whatever, there's always that one river rapids ride, right, where you're all together, either in a raft or it's like a circular thing, and you're all looking at each other, and you have to like work together. You build camaraderie on that river raft,
Oh yeah.
or that rapid, because like you'll sit down, maybe you're with like two or three other people, and then there's like two other families that are there, or two other groups, and it's like you get to know each other because just it's obviously Disney is not action park level, but still, just rapids are scary if you're not used to it, if you're not used to kayaking or whatever. And it just the water hitting you and the rockiness, like you build relationships. And you know what? Thinking about it now, that makes sense. That makes sense why action park would be so legendary. That is like childhood defining, as they were clearly explaining in the movie. It's like that is I can actually really relate to that now. Thinking back to that, if I had to choose a ride, I'm gonna chicken out and say okay, I'll be a step above and I'll say the 20-foot drop, because I'm not good with heights. That's a lot for me. I was gonna say the Tarzan drop, but I'll say the 20-foot drop because where it's literally just a cliff. And the real thrill isn't the drop. The real thrill is, according to the documentary, getting the heck out of there before the next dude jumps off. Because then you'll be hit by 200 pounds of person.
If you don't go into hypothermic shock because the water's below zero.
And you get a heart attack, yeah.
I love when they were talking about how when guys used to go down there and if they didn't do a flip or something, they'd be like throwing stuff at him or yelling at him. And then if a poor girl goes off the thing and her bikini top falls off, everybody started cheering.
That's 90s. That's all totally 90s and early 2000s.
I like to think that if I was like 12 or 13, I would have tagged along with some friends. Probably wouldn't have went on many because I had good judgment. Wouldn't have gone on many rides. But like, there's a temptation factor there, and it's one of those things that it's such a time capsule. You'll never know what that was like unless you lived it. And it comes from an era, too, where it was like, and it's said well in the documentary, where it's like kids would leave the house in the summertime at daybreak. Whose ever house you were at noon, that's who made you lunch. And you wouldn't come home until 8, 9 o'clock at night. And the kicker, your parents wouldn't even be concerned.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a little bit of that growing up, like when I was younger. But like as soon as I got my first cell phone, that like ended. You know what I mean? It was like always know what time it is. You always can contact me if for something like that. It ruined that. It ruined that little bit of like freedom, for lack of a better term. But at the same time, probably for the better in a lot of respects.
Yeah.
You know,
sure.
I enjoyed the hell out of this though. Joe, any final thoughts?
Yeah, no, I enjoyed it too. I've seen people saying that like when it does take the darker turn near the end, it kind of ruins the documentary. And I'm like, no, I think that's the whole point of the documentary.
That's the message.
Yeah, like a lot of people said that they didn't focus, and I could see this. I understand this one a bit more. They didn't focus on the founder of the park that much, Gene Mulliville. They focus on him really towards the end, but they're also trying to focus on George Larson, the 19-year-old that died, and his mother, who's recounting the events, Esther Larson. And it's like,
as someone who only saw the first hour, I thought he was present very much throughout as this kind of, if anyone who's played BioShock is kind of Andrew Ryan, do what you will. The world is yours. Your mistakes are your own.
So I've seen those two criticisms, and I'm just like, I could kind of see the Mulliville one. Like, I think people wanted like a documentary focused on him, like Tiger King level, but it's just like that's not what this was. But the other one where it's just like, why did it take that darker turn? It's like, because it needed to address that, yes, this park was as insane as you think it is. As fun as it was, you can get seriously killed. Like, you can, like,
seriously killed.
Consequences. That's the point, is consequences.
And so, like, the only issue I really had with it is that I do feel like the way it wraps everything up is a bit too quick. I felt like, I could have, like, probably, like, took its time in wrapping everything up. Because it kind of goes like, well, this was the 80s and this is what we are. And it made us the people who we are. And then it cuts to, like, Esther looking at her son's grave. And it ends. I'm just like, all right, well, you could have done a little bit better with it. But other than that,
Like, I got to watch the end of this.
I am absolutely going to finish this when I get out of here.
Other than that, though, I love this, man. This is one of my favorite documentaries this year, too. I think this is a big win for HBO Max because, like, it wasn't American Pickle. I think this is it. I think a lot more people have fun watching this movie and talking about it than they would with American Pickle. Can I just get my rating?
Go for it.
It's 3.5 out of 4 stars for me, man. I loved it. I had a great time. I love documentary filmmaking. I feel like it's something we're kind of losing, and I love it whenever it's done this well.
Yeah, the Class Action Park is definitely up there with A Secret Love for me in favorite documentaries of the year.
Yeah.
I give it 3.5 out of 4 stars. I think it's splendid, and I really like the gravity, the emotional gravity at the end. You cannot tell the story of Action Park without including that, and without including the recklessness of the founder, the pain felt by the families who lost people at this park, because it's pretty damn clear that a lot of parents had no clue that their kids were going to this park, and that's a huge part of the documentary's focus. Dom, you'll abstain from your rating since you haven't completed the film. You need to watch it though.
I will close by saying that it did bring me back to not Action Park, but to my time going to Six Flags as a high schooler, and even as a kid going to Disney World and being like, and then thinking about those and being like, I guess it could always be worse. It could always be way worse than this. So in terms of just the danger of how scared I was of going on those rides, going like the X2 at Six Flags Great America, I'm like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
But at least there are safety guidelines, and there are people actually looking.
I do think about that now. It's like, wow, I was afraid to go on Goliath at Six Flags.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, like, these kids in the 80s literally went on death rides.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't do well with roller coasters. I never have. I've never been a fan of roller coasters. I like waters. I've been to a water park in so many years, but I like water slides. I like water parks generally. I've never been a roller coaster person. Like, it's just that thrill and I don't like it. I hate heights, dude. I hate heights.
Oh,
so
okay,
I don't do well with heights at all.
Yo, Steve, recommendation: you could try the Whizzer at Six Flags Great America. I think you should try the Whizzer. That's the make or break, because that's like the kiddie coaster, but it's like a step above kiddie coaster. You might. And here's the best part. Here's the best part.
Cool, thanks.
Here's the best part. It's one in front of the other, two in a cart, so you can snuggle up. So find yourself somebody, or just go with Joe, and we can.
Go with me,
and we can.
Thank you
on the Whizzer.
Thank you, Dominic. On that note, this has been Sleepless with Steve.